You can't be a stupid person. You know, stupid people get caught. They rob 7-Eleven for $100. Hey, everybody, you asked some great questions. We put out a little bit of a survey asking questions about jewelry robberies. I try not to glamorize jewelry robberies, but people want to know some answers, and I have the answers to some good questions. All right, I'm going to go right down. I'm going to ask them, and maybe they were your questions. Maybe they weren't. If you have any questions, please send them in a comment. I'll be answering them right after this video is up. And I'm going to jump right on in. If Rockstar Games, creator of GTA, asked you to design a jewelry heist for their upcoming GTA 6, would you do it? Obviously, I would do it. I think I could do it better than anybody else, but I'd need your help. The first thing I need you to do is tag them in a post. Tag them. We had an online survey or an online petition one time. We had a lot of signatures asking them, but I don't think they ever got to see it. Obviously, you know, I've had Jay Kleitz, who plays Lester, and I've had Franklin on my show. We're going to look for get Michael as well. I love Rockstar Games. We're working on something as well with GTA, and I would love to do that. And I think I can design a heist better than anybody. Obviously, because I did a lot of heists. That's that question. Okay, how long did the rush from robbing a jewelry store usually last? Hours, days, weeks? Great question. You know, I often tell people that robbing a jewelry store was a better high than any drug I've ever done. I literally better drug than I've ever done. It's an adrenaline boost. It's a massive charge that you beat the system. You won. You beat that incident. You do a lot of planning. You do a lot of preparation for a robbery if you're doing them right and casing it and everything else. There's more to it than just casing, but you do it, and it's a big rush. The high would last probably almost a day because when you leave the store, you're still in that unbelievable high, even while the jewelry's in the trunk of the car before I actually give it to my connection to get rid of my jewelry. So it'd probably be about 24 hours. I would say the high is really just, you start coming down and you can actually feel the difference. You can actually feel how you feel different. It's the weirdest feeling in the world. Listen, I've done all the drugs in the world, and there's no better high. I often tell people, I told the FBI, they asked me why you didn't stop. You were worth millions of dollars. You best that I've ever seen did it. The FBI, Matt Mullen, who's just since passed, said, why didn't you quit? And it was a rush, and it was an adrenaline rush. And it was a high. It was an endorphin through the brain. Exactly what it was. If things started going south on a heist, how would you handle it? Well, that's a very important question. I'll tell you why. I planned for everything that went south. Even the last robbery when we were being shot at, I planned the getaway. So things can go south, but if you have all your contingencies laid out, and you're able to execute them, you're going to get away with it. I literally had the route, the exit, alternate routes if I needed them to get out in case there was an accident on one route. The store itself, if somebody came by, if they didn't come by, every contingency plan was planned. If you don't do that, you're going to get caught a lot quicker than I got caught. Listen, the one contingency, I don't even think it was a contingency. I can't tell what another person is going to do in a store that I case miles and miles away. I don't know that. They got my plate number, which I wasn't even the driver on the car. I was not the main guy. I was the secondary driver on a car, and then my record popped up. Actually, Tommy, my friend, worked for me, was 350 pounds, and he was the main person. So when they first looked it up, it's not him. But when they went a little bit deeper, and that's the FBI, who's got all the money and resources to do whatever they want. So you plan for them. So you're not going to have a thing that goes south. If it goes south that bad, wow, I did have a contingency plan of not shooting anybody. I never said I was going to shoot somebody. I was never going to shoot it out. In fact, if we were pulled down on by guns and cornered, you got me. In fact, when my brother was shot, I was willing to just drop him off at the hospital. Even if I had to stay there, I would have. So there was no contingency plan to shoot it out till the death or anything. There's no hero like that. None of that was going to happen. Any heist target you took one look at and said nope. Many. In fact, when I did a jewelry store, it had to have every piece of a puzzle before you robbed it. You can go, first thing I would do is I would pick out the actual location and see if I can get away. You actually work backwards on a robbery. You don't work forward. You work, is it able to be done? Can you get away? Is there an exit? Is there a back to the store? Does the store face the right way where sun comes in? Let's face it, if the store was next to a police station, you think I would do it? No. Obviously, I knew where the police stations were, what the timing of the cops were, if they had any kind of what they call beat cops at that time, walking a plaza or security, doing certain things. There was so many variables in a robbery that you would not do it. So many stores looked like a great go, and then one thing hit, and you can't do it. Just can't do it. Did you sell the jewelry in the U.S. or internationally? Well, I sold my jewelry to a fence who was connected with us. Now, funny story there, because I find out years later, that my jewelry was going to the West Coast. I robbed, all my robberies were on the East Coast. And I think back at that, and I should have opened a store myself on Rodeo Drive in California. And I could have put my own stuff in there and probably then robbed that. I mean, believe me, I can go down the rabbit hole on that one. But yeah, I mean, not internationally. Did my stones go internationally? I doubt it. There wasn't any that unique pieces that had to be shipped that far off. Most of the pieces I had were just beautiful pieces, round, emerald cuts, different baguettes, a lot of different types of jewelry. But it wasn't that kind of like a star sapphire, like Murph the Surf robbed or something of that nature. What was the closest you got to being caught, except from when you were caught? Well, that's a hard question, and it's a good question, but it's a hard one. Here's why. I used to want to be a fly on the wall after a robbery, see how long it took the people to get out, how long a cop came. Were we gone 2 minutes and then a cop's pulled in by accident, or somebody saw something and they called the cops and they just missed our plate number, which they could have took my plate number. That was a phony plate. So it's really hard to tell how close you got. I was always on edge until I switched the plate back to my regular plate. And that was usually on 95 or whatever major road I was on going back to New York. My jewelry was out of my hands. The whole load was out of my hands within 24 hours. Never stayed with me longer than that. And once it was out of my hands, all the stuff in that jewelry robbery, from our clothes to all the labels to the price tags, to everything going in that was put in an incinerator. So there was no way somebody could know it from there. I mean, they could get you, but they can't get you with any kind of DNA or anything like that on it. What does the fence have that I needed? Well, when I got rid of my jewelry, it was down in Little Italy, New York, underneath the Diamond, not the Diamond Exchange. A lot of people think on 42nd Street is the real Diamond Exchange. That is the Diamond Exchange. It's known around the world as the Diamond Exchange. But there's a lot of jewelry stores and stuff down in Little Italy, Chinatown, Little Italy. Well, underneath Chinatown, Little Italy, there's basements with people who were cutting jewelry, melting gold, doing a lot of things down there. And down there, we had in furnaces and where they would melt stuff. And matter of fact, I was gonna rob that place once when they pulled out a suitcase, had to have $5 million in cash in it. I remember coming back out of that when they paid me. They paid me $400,000. They used to take out a counting machine, put the money in it, and if there's a fake bill in it, it actually shoots out of the machine. And they were paying me with that machine. And after I was very comfortable with them. This is after many robberies. I went, they went right into a false floorboard and pulled out a suitcase, and it was stacked with $100 bills. And I'm like, I left that place. I went up, and my brother and Jimmy were up on the top, and I said, man, there's got to be 5 million. I got to go down there. I'm the robber. No, please don't rob it. Please don't rob, because we would have been dead. But it was something that I really thought about very, very much so. And still think maybe I could have did it, but I probably would have been dead is right. So glad I didn't. Which was your favorite heist to pull off? The favorite heist to pull off. The one that excited me the most was the one I didn't do, and that was the Bow Harbor, not Bow Harbor, the Fontainebleau Hotel. And it was an H. Stern jeweler, and it was a $12 million robbery. I planned that out with fake dynamite, with Molotov cocktails, with following the owner of the jewelry store all the way to his home in Hollywood, Florida, from Miami Beach. And we were so close to doing that robbery, I called it off when a dog was barking when my brother and I were in the bushes right next to the house, and it spooked me. And I'm glad it did, because fate had it. If I would have did that jewelry store, there's no question I would have had a life sentence, because I would have used dynamite, and that's another charge. I would have kidnapped people, and that's another charge. And I wish I would have. So that is my favorite heist, the one I wish I'd pulled off. But again, I'm glad I didn't pull it off. There's one jewelry robbery I had that I looked like a general walking up and down the middle of the aisle. It was in Savannah, Georgia. It was a Friedman jeweler. It wasn't a very expensive. I think I got $250,000 out of that, and it wasn't a big robbery, because Friedman Jewelers is a chain store. But it was in a place down near Savannah, Georgia, that it was raining out, heavy rain. I actually did a video on that, and I went to that store, and now it's probably the only laundromat, not laundromat, like a dry cleaners that has special gated windows and all that, because it was a former jewelry store. That one, I walked up and down the aisle in my suit. Now, it was raining, and people were walking by going to their cars. Now, you got to remember, a door on a jewelry store, most of them have a buzzer to let you in. Now, that never made me uncomfortable. I like that, because then when there's a buzzer on there, if somebody pops in, I'm not going to get surprised. Somebody might come up to the door, pull it, like look in, and I'd say, oh, hold on, and let them in. And then they're involved in a robbery. And that happened many times. But I was walking up and down the aisle in this robbery like I was a general, saying hi to people and pointing to this stuff in each counter. And I had David and Jimmy up and down here pulling out jewelry. I felt that was kind of my favorite store. And it was a pretty easy store to do. Not the easiest one, but it was a pretty easy store. And when you look back, wow, now you got memory going. When you look back at that store, I even got to look in the back of that store, because when I went in as a customer, I told them I had to take a pee real bad. And they let me, thinking I had money and I was, all nicely dressed. They let me go in the back of the facility where the bathroom was, and then I got to see if there was any two-way mirrors, if there was certain cameras I had to worry about, and there weren't. I just had them really let their guard down in a big way, and that's something that nobody should ever do. Did you ever have any heroes or good Samaritans try to fight back? Well, 2 incidents stand out. Obviously, the last one, when the guy got out of his handcuff and got guns and started shooting. But there was a jewelry store in Marietta, Georgia, I remember, and this guy did not want to give the jewelry up. And, here we are over him, and had his wife there. We're going to kill your wife. He says, I don't care. What do you say to that? I wonder what conversation they had when they went home. No, we've never had a good Samaritan try to stop us, because we were really undercover. Nobody knew we were robbing until after it was robbed. And if you came into the store, obviously you're getting confronted with a gun. We did have one guy, I tied up about, 7 to 10 people. I actually ran out of flex cuffs I had. And I had leg for the legs and the hands, and I was just putting them on the hands, had them all down on the floor. People kept coming into the store. I go, what's going on here? And this was totally unexpected, because casing the store, we never had that many people enter a store at once. And they just kept coming in. Every time they come in, I come up to them, open my jacket. You're in a robbery. Oh, my God. Put them down on the floor, cuff them up. Well, we had this one guy. He was a cocky guy. First, I thought he was a cop because he was mouthing off. You think you can get away with this shit? And I'm like, who is this guy? I'm thinking, I go up to him. I grab his wallet, make sure he's not a cop. Never did I take jewelry off of people or anything off of a person. I didn't do that. But anyway, I look at his wallet. He's a nobody. He had a gold chain on, a thick gold chain on his wrist. So I take his gold chain off, and I look, and it's a Fugazi. And if you know what a Fugazi means, it means it's a fake. And I threw the damn chain at him. I said, you piece of shit, you fake motherfucker. And the girls who were working there started laughing. So they must have knew this clown, and I really pulled his whole card. He didn't like that, I can tell you that. That's pretty funny. What heist was the easiest to pull off and why? Great question. I thought about that one. The easiest heist was in Coral Springs, Florida. We timed this heist perfect. Every morning, the store opened at 10 in the morning. The guy would empty the trash out the back door. Right when he'd open the safe, literally open the safe, then he would go and empty the trash. Well, I timed it perfect. I waited right next to the door. I could hear my brother's in the car. This is just my brother and I. And I'm standing up against the back of the building, just like I'm, hanging out like I was just somebody, like normal, dressed normal. There was not many people around, so you can't see, nobody came and saw and looked at what's this guy doing. And I heard the door open. When the door opened, I went in and bam, threw that guy probably halfway through the room. He goes flying down. The door flies open and shuts itself. It was like perfect. I cuff him up, boom, tell him don't open his eyes. Back open the door. I let my brother in. Everything is in the safe for us. Everything wasn't even in the shelves yet. It was just put it in, everything together, get everything together, gone. We were gone in about 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It was easy because we never even had to go out to the front of the store to see if anybody was looking in on us, in case somebody was. But that was a very easy, quick, and it goes to show you, people did the same routine all the time. That's the worst thing you can do. There's always somebody watching, I used to tell them. When I do jewelry robbery prevention now, I talk about changing your routes, doing things different. Don't coming in, sometimes change a car. You could do a lot of things. You don't know if you're being watched. And the professional is going to take his time, and he's going to figure stuff out. But if you throw enough curveballs at me, I might pass down that store. And that's something that happened. I will never forget that Easy store. I remember from your book, some early heists were insurance jobs. Is there anything you can tell when it comes to the story on that? How those things get organized, your benefits and stores' benefits? Yes. My first robbery was actually a insurance job set up by the owner himself and some wise guys. How that works is he's going to get insurance. He's going to make his claim. He's going to have receipts. He's going to have everything else. He's going to always have more receipts. A lot of the jewelry store owners probably weren't too pissed at me because they had insurance and they probably made money. Think of this. If you have a jewelry piece that's in your shelf for 2 years, you just sold it when I rob it because everything there is going to be then put in as insurance. In fact, matter of fact, the FBI asked me once, they go, wow, you got $1.2 million out of that store. I go, no, I didn't. I got about $800,000. And he started laughing. Well, he goes, well, the insurance claim was put in for $1.2 million. I said, well, he can put in what he wants. I'm telling you what I got out of it. Obviously, he started laughing. And the insurance game is a big game in the insurance industry. And there's not many insurance companies that handle it. Jewelers Mutual is one of the bigger ones. Of course, Lloyd's of London are big places. Not every insurance company will even insure jewelry stores. You have to understand how the jewelry business works. The jewelry store owners have to have receipts. Well, what do you think they do? They make receipts. They get another jeweler friend of theirs to give them receipts. There's a lot of little things they do to keep getting as much money as they can. Now, listen, how they negotiate the last of their selling of the jewelry. I'm sure they're not selling it at retail to insurance companies and say, wait a minute, I know the actual value of that piece is this. But they're selling the whole store for wholesale. You know, jewelers are pretty much a bunch of criminals, and I'll tell you why. How does any business say, hey, we got a 60% off sale, or we got an 80% off sale? What were they doing before the 80%? They were really screwing you. The jewelry business is really funny, and I'll tell you a little hint. A diamond for your wife, your girlfriend, whoever, is going to be the third largest purchase you will ever make. And most people just go to one jeweler who cons them. You're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a car, and the next biggest item you're going to buy is a diamond for your wife. And most people don't do their due diligence and don't go to three or four different jewelers. They hear about one guy, and the guy sells them a line of shit. And before you know it, he's conning that guy out of a lot of... And they got to tell you everything. Hey, listen to me. I don't care what you do. You get this diamond. You can give it back to me for the same price. That's bullshit. Try to do that. Never works. Just do it. See how much you get back. Oh, I got shelf time. I got this. We couldn't do it. The market changed. This. I'm not saying in a day or two. I'm talking about try to go back there in 6 months or a year. Say, listen, I need the money. I want my money back for that. Try it. Not going to work. Did you ever keep jewelry to give to people as gifts? Great story. Yes, I did. Good friend of mine is a cruiserweight champ of the world, and I gave him a Rolex watch that had it engraved, said, to the champ from a friend. Still has it. And I told him, of course, he knows who I am. I don't go to a jeweler to get that fixed because all Rolexes have serial numbers. Just a little bit of a point of fact there if you ever have a hot Rolex. But yes, I would take small diamonds. A lot of the mobsters in New York have my diamond. I had my own jewelry, but I actually bought my own jewelry, had it made or something of that nature because I used my jewelry as a prop, if you want to call it, when I went into the next jewelry store. Had it cleaned, leave it there, and they think, oh, man, he's leaving a $20,000 bracelet or a ring or something there to get cleaned. He's not going to be a criminal. Why would he leave it there? I know I'm coming back to get it. But so jewelry stores do that all the time, and I did gifts a lot. So yeah, my mom, I gave my wife a small, a 3/4 carat diamond ring. It was just a perfect cut, though. It was very expensive. People don't understand. You can get a 1 carat ring to go for $30,000. You can get a 1 carat ring to go for $3,000. Depends on the cut, clarity, color, the dynamics of the diamond. And I always had quality. I'm a believer in quality over quantity, weight-wise. I mean, you'll see a lot of women, and I gave a couple of diamond stud earrings out to some lady friends. And you never want to get the big gaudy. You put a 1/2 carat or 3/4 of a carat in a person's ear, it just looks gaudy. And that's not the way I do it. So it looks shit. I think the right kind of jewelry. I have a lot of taste for jewelry. When I look at people who wear jewelry, and I'm not talking rappers, I think that's their game. I think that's kind of cool, actually. I never did that, but I'm talking on a woman, on a nice, elegant woman, whether it's a brooch or a beautiful necklace or a bracelet that's really done right. That makes a lot. I mean, that makes it really worth it. It really highlights a person. What would you do if people tried to come into the jewelry store like civilians? As I said earlier, that has happened, and they're in on a robbery. I liked it because I'd rather see them come in than look in and leave, because then I don't know if they saw something, they're going to go report it. Come on in. You're going to be down on the back behind the counter with flex cuffs on. The one store that I had the old people come in was kind of fun. nice people. And when they walked into the jewelry store in Sarasota, Florida, they came in, and I said, "You're in a robbery," and they wanted to go down. Like I said, "No, no, 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 no. Come with me. Come with me." Put them in a chair. Now there's two people tied up on the floor. I put them in a chair. I said, "Look at the wall. Just look at the wall. Don't look at me. And when I leave, then you could call somebody. You got 5 minutes. Wait 5 minutes." Well, they did. In fact, I know they did because my idiot driver at the time, we signal him to come around the back. He comes around, doesn't see us, goes back around. We come out and there's nobody there. What the? Turn around. I said, "I'm just checking on you. I'm checking on you." And they were just nicest people. And matter of fact, in the newspaper the next day, we read it online, and it said, "Oh, they were nice people." And I just robbed the place for a nice score, and that was in Sarasota, Florida. They were nice people. I guess that was a criminal. Next one. What happened to the money you made from the heist after you got arrested? The government got it all. In fact, they took approximately $6 million from me. Houses, homes, limousines, horses, $1.6 million in cash. Yeah, they kill you. Listen, it was all illegally got. So I have no qualms that happened. And I'm not here sitting saying, "Oh, man, I got screwed over." No. But the government will take everything. If you cannot prove what you got was made from legal means, and I never worked in my life. So, my first job, besides the Coast Guard, YouTube. No, not really. When I was a kid, I had a couple little jobs, Coast Guard stuff. But after that, I was not your kindest guy. What's the coolest piece in your opinion that may not be worth in value, but just looked amazing and cool to you personally, Larry? Keep up the cool videos. Always brighten my day. This is crazy, and I'm going to show you something. Can you get that clock? I used to take clocks. Listen, I guess we all have our little, what do you call it? Crazy stuff. This was one of the clocks that I took from a jewelry robbery. And, this is one of the clocks I took from a jewelry robbery. And I would take a clock every time. And don't ask me why, but it was something, it wasn't a value. It was cool to me. It was different clocks. I used to like to see the movements. And I would actually take different ones. Not a big clock. I wouldn't take a grandfather clock. But I took clocks. Don't ask me why. It's weird, but that's what I did. All right, I'm going to stop right here and do a little bit of a promotion for myself. I want you guys to check out my cigars, the Crooked Diamond. Since we're doing a diamond question answer, the Crooked Diamond Cigar, crookeddiamondcigar.com, crookeddiamondcigar.com. We now have lighters, which is really cool. We have a odor deodorizer. We have these lighters now, and you can check them out. And they're really cool. And they had the Crooked Diamond on them. And they are torches. And they're pretty cool. So check them out. We have that, of course, Gangster Redemption book. And we have the cookbook, just a little bit late, but it is coming out very quickly. All right, thank you on that. And check it all out in the links below. Check all our stuff out in the links below. You'll be amazed. There's some cool stuff, cool merch we're coming out with and stuff like that. Did you always feel like you were going to get caught eventually, or you thought you could get away with it? I always knew eventually I would get caught. In fact, when I was really running the streets like that, I never thought I'd live to 50. So I always thought I'd get caught. I really did. That's just the way it was. So how accurate was the estimation of the value of jewels from this instance? You've said many times that both law enforcement and store owners often significantly overestimate the detail. Absolutely. My estimates were pretty good. Sometimes I think the government got them a little low, which is okay by me. When I was convicted, I was not convicted on all 20 stores. I was convicted on only 4, and at 4, I think it was $3 million. So that's the number that I had to do, and how they enhance your sentence. Uh, they take a wholesale number; they don't take a retail number, and you actually negotiate that number in your in your PSI. It's called your pre-sentence investigation. The government, they're going to try to throw everything at you, but what really sticks is one thing. How would you feel if someone broke your X million-dollar record? Would you be proud of them or shame they committed a crime? You know, that's a really good question. I'd probably be proud of them. I know I got to be real. I got to keep it 100. Uh, Listen, I don't want to see people go out and robbing people. I really don't. I wouldn't feel like a dad whose kid graduated Harvard, but I would be impressed and intrigued, and I guess I don't know if they broke it. Wouldn't be mad. That's for sure. I'd like to know how they did it. Like I am impressed with the Pink Panther gang. Were you proud of those heists at the time? How do you feel now? Yeah, keep it real. Listen, what I did was not easy. The FBI told me that. What do I think now? Obviously, I don't want anybody to want to be a robber. My life was a whole different life, and people's lives are all different. Don't judge anyone on their past. Judge them on what they do today and how they move forward in their lives. That's just all I'm going to say is, I'm not proud of myself as a person back then. I am proud of myself as a person now. Did you have an ego fueled by the attention you were getting? Does this continued attention to this day fuel any ego now? Honestly, from Scotland. I guess it does. You have to have an ego in life. Maybe a little bit of misconstrued ego too. But most of your successful people in life have an ego. And it might be wrong, if you want to call it wrong. But yes, I think I did. Do I have an ego now? I'm sure I do. I don't think that just goes away. I think I control my ego. I'm very humble sometimes. I have a lot of empathy for people. And I think that's the balance you have to have. And I think that's important. So, but that's a great question. And that's the honest answer. As far as getting attention, I didn't want attention. So it's not like I got attention. I think it was a personal thing. Attention you didn't want. In fact, nobody in my neighborhood knew what I did. They all thought I was maybe a drug dealer or something of that nature, and I never was. Because I didn't want them to. Obviously, I didn't want them to. Robbing jewelry stores must build up an appetite after a heist. What would you eat? That's a great question because I used to go to a restaurant. I used to go to La Palina's. Not La Palina. I used to go Il Catil's. And it's down on Mulberry Street, Mulberry or Mott. And it's one of the great Italian restaurants down there. I used to get vodka rigatoni, a big, big plate of vodka rigatoni. I remember having bags of cash sitting next to me. But I wanted my vodka rigatoni. So, yeah, after it's all done, I was hungry. And I was hungry for my pasta. And only certain people can make pasta for me. Where I like it. And that's just the way it is. I mean, hate to say that. That's the way it is. How many of your partners in crime genuinely thought they weren't doing anything wrong? None. We all knew we were criminals. We all knew we were doing wrong. We're not delusional. And we're not people who can't see what we're doing. Now, did we say to ourselves, oh, we shouldn't be doing it? No, it's just the way we grew up. That's what our job was, if you want to call it that. Maybe, yes, very misconstrued, if you want to call it that. But it is what it was. So we all knew we were criminals. What would be your ideal theft? Some con you wanted to pull off? Wow, great question. It wouldn't be a diamond heist. I always wanted to try counterfeit. I just did. I used to sit and figure out how I would get rid of counterfeit money in casinos. It had to be a good counterfeit, obviously. Obviously, if you ever I got offered money. I got offered millions of dollars at about 7 cents on the dollar. So I could have bought I could have bought $1 million in fake bills for $70,000, 7%. And I used to think how I could get rid of it to change it and go to, because once you hit an area with fake money, the Secret Service is going to be there. And I think it's harder today to actually counterfeit money than it is back in the day. I never wanted to be a computer thief or anything of that nature. It just that excitement of the counterfeit, suitcases full of money, even though it's fake. Now I even thought about how I could buy drugs with it, drug dealers, but then they're going to kill you if they catch you either. So, I mean, it's just the excitement of counterfeit. I don't know why. That's one of my things. How did you keep your cool when your getaway driver bailed on you? That was funny because I had that all planned when I was trying a new driver, a new person to rob. I had contingency plans, as I told you earlier. You always have to have a contingency plan. Even when Jimmy went in front of the place and back of the place and front of the place, when I walked out the door of a jewelry store in the back door, I didn't just walk out just open the door and slam the door open with jewelry pillowcases full of jewelry. I would open the door like I was a normal person and, look around for a second, and then I don't see it. Well, I didn't see the car. I didn't panic. I went back into the store, which was my safe zone. So I did do that, and that worked every time. Was there any people you really liked who you robbed? Didn't know them. Didn't get to know them. I didn't want to get to know them. They were just a way to get. I would size the person up if I felt threatened in some way, if I thought the guy was too cocky, if I thought he was smart in some way and had some other kind, or if I thought even for a second that he pinned me out, I would make sure I would cover that totally. What was the weirdest thing you ever happened to do robbery? Weirdest. I'm going to have to say the lady laughing. That kind of was weird, man. I mean, she starts hysterically laughing, and I'm like, what's so funny about this shit? I later learned, and, after that, I was kind of weirded out by that, and what happened is people react to stress in different ways, whether they cry or laugh or scream or shake, different things. And this lady was laughing, and I'm glad. I hope she laughs today about it. Maybe that's her trigger, but I hope she does. Is there people that was in a store you robbed who has been stuck in your mind more than the rest? If yes, why? I would have to say the old people, just because I like old people, and I would never do anything. I never gagged anybody either. I never wanted anybody to choke, maybe throw up and gag and anything. I would never let that happen. But I think the old people stick out to this day, and I remember that vividly. Has there ever happened a little accident to you or partner during robbery, like a slippery? No, we never. Listen, you don't trip and slip. I mean, it's kind of like, it was funny because one time I never would open a door with my fingertips, open a door. I would literally open it with my knuckles. I do remember one time pulling the door and my knuckles slipped off the door. But it wasn't like it was a bad slip. I didn't fall. I didn't look stupid. But when I try to grab the door like this, I would pull it open because I don't want to pull it with my fingertips because that's a fingerprint. Because I didn't put my gloves on until I was in the store. Didn't touch a jewelry countertop or anything until I had the people down, put my gloves on, and that was it. Didn't touch a thing. So that's probably the only little thing, if you want to call it. Is there any particular reaction you got that you still remember? Has to be, again, I'm just going to go that one, whether you do it or not, is the laughing. Kind of weird. And last, what are the biggest things that when you look back to your robberies now that you're older and smarter, and I don't mean in the right or wrong sense, I mean, is there anything you thought about that you wish you could have done better? It's funny. I literally analyzed robberies after I did them. And being my first robbery was a setup, and I knew everything. I got better and better with every robbery. And what I mean by that is I often look back of what I could have did different to not get caught. And I don't think there's anything. I did not know how hard the FBI was after me. I did not know they were flooding areas with agents. I didn't know I was on their list as hard as I was. I knew I was wanted, but I didn't know how much. I didn't know how big it was. So, you know, I used to learn from every robbery, whether it was the angles, where someone might hide jewelry in a store, how they set it up. I found out, not after the first or second robbery, it was down the line about having buzzers in their pocket. And I would literally research and read articles and do stuff like that in trade magazines to find the latest in security they had back then. So I always learned my craft. Wow. Does that sound crazy? It is. But that's the truth. So I think I got better and better with every one. And that's not trying to be funny or braggadocious. It is what it is. I was who I was. I like what I am now. I like to help people. And I hope people understand that. And I hope they realize if they can learn from my life, it'll be a little bit better. Have a great day, everybody. I hope you like this kind of stuff. Keep questions coming. We're going to do a couple of different questions on prison. Somebody asked about prison sex. We're going to do it all. So have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe. Don't rob a jewelry store, please. Comment, like, and subscribe. And please do me a favor and pass this on. Share this video. I appreciate that. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.